Hiya, hope you're doing well. Just gonna try and get the screen up. Of course, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am gonna try and upload my thingy because obviously I can't tell you what's going on in the race if I don't have the details in front of me. Of course, Lando Norris is starting on pole position. Yeah, it's actually been quite warm the past few days in Britain. The hell's going on my TV? Hiya, say Regara. I hope you're doing well. God. Piastri on the front row, ahead of course, Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz. That should be fairly interesting because, of course, we all know Ferrari have got some decent race pace, but Mercedes, you never know what Lewis Hamilton could do over race distance. I mean, obviously his teammate is way down the grid after that disastrous Q1 in the wet. Hamilton going for pole 200, you are correct. Of course, at Britain, Hamilton became the first ever driver to take a race victory after his 300th start in Formula One. What an achievement that is, folks. Of course. God, come on, please. Just one more record. Hope that CrowdStrike doesn't attack Mercedes again. Well, we'll see about that. Of course, Hamilton, I'm trying to think now. Of course, 15 years running, he won a race between 2007 and 2008 and 2021. And now, of course, winning this season, he's now made it 16 years with a win. Well, Max Verstappen tried to go ambitious on the first corner, but he's gained a position, and Norris is down to third place. What a shocking start by Lando. Oh dear. And he's down to fourth. Oh, but he's gone back ahead of Hamilton. Hamilton trying to take advantage of the chaos between Max and the two McLarens. Going up the hill. And now 1, 2, 3, 4. Now going into the chicane for turn 7 and 8. And Piastri is in a very nice position to actually win this race, surprisingly enough. I never saw that coming. But Lando Norris's lack of racecraft and ability to defend properly at the start of the race has cost him yet again. That is just so poor, Lando. I don't know what to say if I'm going to be truly honest. Of course, Russell and Perez are down in 16th and 17th. Albon and Magnussen have been a big winners at the start into the top 10, whilst the two RBs and Hulkenberg drop out, both lose at least 2 positions. Hulkenberg's down in 14th. Dreadful start by Logan Sargeant, down to 18th after what was actually a decent Q2 session. Sainz loses 3 places off the start and drops behind Alonso. Shocking. Oh, I mean, Ocon's made 4 positions. DRS is enabled. We're on a second lap. I mean, the first lap has completely flown past us. Perez predicted a Piastri victory. Yeah, that's interesting. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo is leading by pole, having picked up 3 votes. Oh, right. Alonso's now got DRS on Alonso then, I presume. Up to 6. Good day to you, Silverback. I hope you're doing well. Were you on Chaz's stream yesterday, or were you busy? Because, yeah, I mean, Chaz did a stream for qualifying. Of course, he's not doing it today because I think he just doesn't like doing... I don't know why. He doesn't really like doing race streams anymore, which is interesting. But thank you for the likes. Of course, yeah, Sainz is up to 6th. That has to be, frankly, I mean, Lando Norris, there's going to be questions asked now. Of course, Hulkenberg's gone to the pits. I think Hulkenberg definitely must have been involved in an accident at the start of the race. Oh, yeah, he definitely picked up a punch in here, hence why he went from 11th down to last. And, of course, he's now on the hard tyres, just so you know. Both Aston Martins, Albon and Magnussen, are on the soft tyres, hence why Albon and Magnussen made such a good start to get into the top 10. Now they've got to take advantage of the soft compound and really bang those lap times out. And of course, that does depend on how quickly the Aston Martins go. And of course, we all know what Fernando Alonso likes to do when he gets an advantage. 4 likes so far. Thank you for that. Verstappen with the fastest lap of the race so far with 24.026. So, Perez, well, he's down at 17th. Russell's made up a couple of positions. He's got up to 15th, but yeah, it's going to be a long afternoon for both Russell and Perez. And Norris has, I think, has come back out in front. Yeah, he's given up position to Verstappen. Norris, I beg your pardon, for Max, who's gone back down to 3rd place. Of course, Magnussen is talking to his team about the soft tyres. Of course, one of only 4 cars to start the race on the red softs, in the hopes of trying to maximise the early stint. Of course, Russell's now within half a second of Ocon, and I think Russell is definitely on a charge, whilst Perez, he's just stuck that he's really struggling again. Max and Ferrari brought more medium and hard tyres than McLaren and Mercedes. Yeah, higher Ruxford. That's interesting. So Max is going to try and, I don't know, looks like Max could be using hard tyres later on. Same could be said for Ferrari. Oh, geez. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Chaz with his withdrawals recently. Just, And of course, Hulkenberg has just set the fastest lap of the race, despite the fact he's all alone down in 20th and about within 10 seconds behind Gasly, who's in 19th. So looks like new tyres on this dusty, hot track is a huge advantage whenever you put them on. I don't know, what is wrong? Pierre Gasly has a problem with his brakes. Oh dear. I've got to say, Alpine, they've got real problems. Ricciardo, I think there's more. Yeah, I think Daniel Ricciardo obviously left Red Bull because he was sick of crashing into Max all the time. I mean, to be honest, if he does return to Red Bull, he's not going to be there competing with Max anymore, because I think Max has simply developed so far ahead of Ricciardo that it's almost unlikely that we'll ever see those two race wheel to wheel for position ever again. So I think it actually would be a good idea for Red Bull to bring back Ricciardo, because even if he might be just a little bit slower than, well, Perez, I think his qualifying is obviously better. And of course, Albon, Magnussen, and Ocon have all gone to the pits. I mean, the soft tyres clearly do not have the Williams and Haas do not believe the softs have got the durability to really be able to last more than 7 laps. Now, Hulkenberg's in front of those three, and now he's up to 17th. And Albon, Magnussen, and Ocon have all switched to hard tyres, and Ocon, well, he was actually using medium compounds. So it's going to be interesting to see what Ocon does, because, to be honest, why is he dumped the medium so early? I don't understand. Of course, I think the reason why Perez is going slow is because I've just realised he's on the hard tyres, but then so is Russell. So I don't know what's happening there. 16th is Gasly. I'm looking at the back because obviously there's not much action going on in the top half of the grid. Ricciardo and Tsunoda automatically jumped into 9th and 10th, the last two point scoring positions, meaning that the two Aston Martins are the only remaining drivers on soft. But Alonso and Ricciardo have gone to the pits. Lots of early pit stops today. It just seems to be that a lot of people are not fancying their chances in traffic. Well, looks like Silverback believes Piastri will be a number 1 driver soon. Ricciardo is the only driver to secure a top 5 finish in a sprint race or a feature race. Yes, absolutely correct, say. Yeah, Oscar Piastri. I mean, if he gets the win today, like I said, I think on a previous video, that I think Oscar Piastri could be positioning himself as McLaren's new number 2, because I've said it many times and I'll say again, Norris bottling race wins and finishing second constantly is going to turn him into a David Coulthard type of driver at this rate, because you can't really rely on... I mean, arguably, McLaren should be in a Drivers' Championship fight if they had a better number 1. Clear air is key here, absolutely true. You do not want to be stuck in a bottleneck, especially when you consider there's like at least 18 corners crammed within about just 2.7 miles. It is one of the tightest tracks on the circuit, on the calendar. It is dusty. It is one of the hottest tracks. It is a real challenge for both the drivers and the cars. And tyre management is so key here to a successful result. And Vettel over 2018, Vettel 2018 over Norris. Yeah, well, I know Vettel was making mistakes left, right, and centre, but yeah. But of course, I had to turn the screen away for the advert. Sorry, and Albon got DRS. Oh, right. Magnussen's within DRS range of Albon. I have to say, I think Williams are going to regret that decision to put Albon on soft tyres because Sargeant, with his disastrous start, well, Sargeant cannot be relied upon in any circumstance, I'm afraid. Yeah, I mean, Norris is not really doesn't really have that killer instinct. I've talked about it many times. Norris just, his racecraft is just not that special, if I'm going to be honest. He's not that great at overtaking drivers at all, or being able to, like, have that visual spatial awareness to either defend or attack other drivers, which is so key at this level in Formula One. And to be able to get a good start at the start of the race, it's just, this is very Rubens Barrichello-like from Norris in that he's always losing out a race start. And if you constantly lose out a race start in Formula One, it's very hard to win races regularly at this level of motorsport. I know that's harsh, but obviously in a sport like F1, it is very difficult to overtake compared to maybe touring cars, sports cars, Indy cars, you name it. Those series, you can maybe get away with being a poor starter, but in Formula One, unless it's 2012 or some season where there's weird regulations where everyone's overtaking each other constantly, yeah, you will pay the price for poor starts. I mean, Leclerc and Sainz, well, Leclerc 3.5 seconds ahead of Sainz. I think Ferrari will be pleased with that because, of course, Leclerc's form has come into question recently, and I think they have their preferred driver in front again. Since, of course, we know Sainz will be leaving the team at the end of this season. Stroll is up in 7th. He's doing okay lap times. I think his best lap's about 7/10 slower than Norris. But of course, I have to say, considering he's on soft tyres, you would think he should go a lot quicker than that, which is a bit worrying. I mean, yeah, 7/10 slower than the McLarens. That is a bit poor, considering he's now the only driver on soft tyres, whilst his teammate Alonso is lapping about, well, 2/10 or 3/10 slower than him on the mediums. I have to say, I think Alonso probably wishes he was on the hard tyres because, frankly, by going on the mediums, he is wasting a set of mediums whilst he is surrounded by a pack of hard tyre runners everywhere from Russell downwards from 10th place. I've got to say, Aston Martin's strategy doesn't look very clever this afternoon, and I think Stroll's going to have to try and hang on to those soft tyres, but of course he's only got a buffer of about 6 seconds to Russell in 10th place. So if he pits now, oh dear, he's going to be down in 16th, 17th, 18th. It's, oh dear, what it is. Aston Martin have screwed up by going on softs. So I think it's really without question, the soft tyres just simply don't work at the start of the race with the heavy fuel load and the hot temperatures and so much dust on the track. Honestly, I think if you were to use soft tyres, you really should use it towards the end of the race in the last 15 odd laps. If you have like a puncture or a front wing damage issue, then you probably should pop on the soft tyres. But apart from that, it's just not the tyre compound to have this afternoon. I'm bored of Carlos Sainz, absolutely. Where is he going to join? Blah, blah, blah. It is really boring, I have to say. Carlos Sainz I mean, there's no way he's going to Red Bull because of course, Christian Horner doesn't want the drama of having Carlos Sainz as senior versus Jos Verstappen at the team where they'll be fighting over what's going on with their sons. It's obviously going to be Perez or Ricciardo in that second seat for next year. Mercedes are increasingly leading towards Kimi Antonelli in the second Mercedes seat because they want stability. They want to build a future without Lewis Hamilton, even though, of course, it's going to be a bit weird because I think for the first time in Mercedes' history of racing as an independent team in Formula One, this will be the first time I think Mercedes will race without a world champion at their team because in the 50s they had Juan Manuel Fangio, early 2010s they had Michael Schumacher, and then of course they replaced him with Lewis Hamilton, and Nico Rosberg became a world champion. So I think for the first time in 2025, Mercedes will enter an F1 race without a world champion competing for their brand. That is, I know that sounds strange, but that's actually going to be an all-time first for Mercedes by the looks of it, unless, of course, they sign Alonso or Verstappen. There's always 2 or 3 NAF races a year with Alonso, yeah, but unfortunately this year he's having at least 4 or 5 NAF races, and I think his motivation level has completely dropped off, I'm afraid, with how poor the Aston upgrades have been. If I was Adrian Newey, I would pick McLaren over Aston Martin. Well, that's going to be... Well, I mean, I'm not sure McLaren need Adrian Newey because they're doing pretty well without him. Of course, Carlos Sainz has slipped so much this season. Well, Sergio Perez has slipped horribly. Yeah, well, okay, Carlos Sainz has had a couple of bad races here and there, but Sergio Perez, you're not even overtaking cars like people expect you to now. Like, the one thing you're good at, which is making up positions and overtaking cars, you can't even do that anymore. I'm just... Carlos Sainz, yeah, I think I said it somewhere. I can only see Carlos Sainz at Williams now because I don't think he will want to end up at Sauber because, well, Nico Hulkenberg's there. Haas is a total non-starter, and it looks like Esteban Ocon will go there. And then, of course, you've got Alpine, where I don't even know anymore. Magnussen, Zhou, anyone's guess who's going to join Gasly Alpine, but with a number of problems Alpine have been having, it just doesn't look like a very exciting prospect for any experienced driver. Unsurprisingly, Lance Stroll pits. What a waste of soft tyres, I'm afraid, and he's going to drop miles down the order. I think Oscar Piastri has said that he'll be heading to the pit lane now. Hello there, Kiefer Chua. I hope you're doing well this afternoon. I mean, the upgrades at Aston Martin, they remind me of the Ferrari upgrades in 2018 when it just ruined their season altogether. They just lost so much pace relative to Mercedes. Whilst Aston Martin... Well, I don't think it's their upgrades that have ruined their day-to-day. I think it's the pit strategy that has ruined today's race for the Silverstone-based team. On a track where overtaking is so difficult, the decision to start on soft compounds, just a completely terrible decision altogether. Like, I don't know what on earth Magnussen, Albon, and the 2 Aston Martins were thinking of when they thought soft would be a good decision. It's Hungary. You can't overtake around here. It's so hard unless, of course, you get a massive toe down the front straight and then get a good switchback coming out of turn 1 and going into turn 2 and 3. That's it. That's the only place you can overtake. That is the first sector of this track. Apart from that, forget it. It's Hungary, folks. This is Monaco without the barriers. And Singapore without the straights. For most of the track, obviously. Max feels stressed now because his dominance is no longer there. And Horner is being... Home? You mean... Yeah, Christian Horner is being a teacher's pet. Snitching. Hamilton pits. Yeah, I agree. Gasly and Zhou for Alpine. Yeah, Hamilton's gone to the pits. That's going to be very interesting because, of course, now with Stroll having pitted, everyone's either on the mediums or on the hard compounds. But, of course, everyone from 9th place downwards, except for the two Astons, are using the hard compounds. And, yes, I can see Hamilton's name is dropping down the order. I really do wonder what he's going to come out with. Mode F for Bottas. Mode F. Never heard of that before at Sauber. Don't know why on earth they brand themselves a Stake F1, but quite a sad name. Of course, Bottas will inevitably drop down the order. I wonder where he's going to come out. I think obviously he's had a very good stint, but he is going to be coming out around where the Aston Martins are. So, actually... Nice try, Sauber, but it's just not worked off. And Zhou is back down to last place. My God, what is going on at the Sauber team? Yeah, I said it was Monaco without the barriers, but also Singapore without the straights. It is... I mean, at least at Singapore, you got a couple of about 3 or 4 straights around the track, so you could pull off an overtake here and there. But here, it's just one long straight, and then maybe another longish straight coming up to the hill between Sector 1 and Sector 2. But of course, it's followed by a fast corner going up to that 90-degree corner at the top of the hill. Norris pits, yeah, Norris has come out. Tsunoda's up to... Oh, Tsunoda's been overtaken by Hamilton, so I thought for a moment Tsunoda was making up positions, but of course... the top 4 have not pitted, so Piastri... in a nice 8-second lead. Look at that. McLaren clearly have the fastest car on the grid now. There's no ifs or buts. McLaren have got the fastest car on the grid, and Norris is going to be kicking himself in that papaya cockpit. Once again, what could have been 6 or 7 wins this season will only be 1 win for Norris unless he gets a huge stroke of luck today. It's just sorry, Norris. Norris, he's only got himself to blame. He is going to end up consigning himself to a number 2 role like David Coulthard did in the mid-2000s. Piastri pits. That's not going to cheer Norris up, though. Unless Norris has done an amazing outlap, but in-lap, outlap, he's not going to overtake Piastri. I can see Piastri... Yep, he's gone out of the pit lane. Norris is way too far behind to catch up. A big 3.5 second gap between Piastri and Norris. Launch map off. Launch map off for Piastri. That's interesting. Well, Lando, very disappointing. It didn't even make up any time in between those pit stops. That's just not good enough, Lando. It's just not good enough. Safety... Verstappen going to drop behind Hamilton when he pits? Yeah, probably. Hamilton's been pretty quick the past 5 or 6 laps. And Hamilton's obviously now just clocked the fastest lap with a 23.35. On his new hard tyres. Gotta say, new tyres is such a huge advantage around here. So, absolutely no idea what Aston, Albon, and Magnussen were doing starting the race on soft tyres, because that is just a waste of softs. It really is just a waste of softs. It's really the only time you should deploy softs around this track is if you happen to pit with about 12 laps to go. The last 12 laps, obviously. And Hamilton's just reduced his fastest lap to a 23.201. Hamilton's race pace is electric today, absolutely electrifyingly quick. He's lapping, what, half a second faster than McLaren's in front of him. I did say at the start of the race, do not count out Lewis Hamilton to win this race. Because, you know, he became the first driver to win a race after his 300th Grand Prix start at Silverstone. He's lost none of that raw speed over a race distance, obviously. Now, obviously, in terms of his qualifying speed, it's not quite what it was used to be in the past, but that race pace is still there after all these years. Verstappen just 3 seconds ahead of Leclerc, 8 ahead of Sainz, and only 11 seconds ahead of Piastri. Yeah, he's definitely going to come out behind Hamilton if he pits now. This is going to be, I mean, what does Verstappen do, to be honest? Because if he's not careful, Ferrari might pit, then he might close the gap on Verstappen, and then not only does he come out behind Hamilton, but he could come out behind one of the Ferraris if he stays out for too long. Hamilton might just win this race. Hamilton said there's less grip. Yeah, but it's Lewis Hamilton, folks. It's like he's still the fastest man on the track. I mean, Norris has just set his own personal best of 23.45, but Hamilton just clocked a 23.33 on the previous lap. So he's still clocking faster lap times than the two Maccas in front of him. And oh, wow, dearie me. Piastri is getting close to Sainz, and Norris is closing in on his Australian teammate. So, oh, wow, this is going to get close, isn't it, between the top three? Was Verstappen, well, he's only less than 15 seconds ahead of Hamilton, who's obviously closing in on him. So, yeah, going to be a net P6 if Verstappen comes, well, not net P6 because he's got the two Ferraris behind him who still have not pitted, and I think only Verstappen, Perez, his teammate, the two Ferraris, Russell, Tsunoda, Gasly have not pitted yet. There's only about, Verstappen and Sainz have pitted, so there's just what? About 5 cars in this race that have not pitted yet. Leclerc goes into the race lead on the road, of course, but he's surely going to be pitting the next lap. I wonder if, of course, staying out for an extra lap could cost him a position to Sainz. I don't know why Leclerc's staying out. That is quite strange for Ferrari because, of course, Sainz is the guy behind. Surely, if Ferrari want to have an outside chance of winning this race, they should have pitted Leclerc first because new tyres is a massive advantage here. Huge advantage due to the tyre deterioration for all compounds, it has to be said. It's just none of these compounds, the tyres, are proving to be particularly durable around this track. Yeah. Now, I mean, okay, Oscar's only about, 2.5 seconds ahead of Norris, but it does make you wonder, is he maintaining the gap, or is Norris got something in reserve? Don't know. Try and look at the lap times. Sainz is down in 9th place behind Perez. Oh, and Leclerc's staying out. I don't know about that, Leclerc. You are risking putting yourself behind Perez if you stay out for too long because Perez is, well, Rosa's fastest lap of this race has been, well, actually, Sergio Perez is actually about a couple of seconds slower in terms of his fastest lap, but a couple of seconds slower than his teammate Max, obviously, but compared to Well, I mean, funnily enough, I think Red Bull and Ferrari have been producing similar lap times throughout this race, so it's not like if Leclerc was to come out, he would actually lose too much time to Perez. But yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say this race is between Lewis Hamilton and the two McLarens. Max Verstappen, try as he will, is just not finding much speed in his car today. And let's face it, it was a miracle that Max Verstappen managed to qualify within a tenth of a second of the McLaren yesterday. That was, frankly, a heroic qualifying performance by the triple Dutch world champion. But today, it's become very clear that Red Bull have fallen behind sharply in the development race because both Mercedes and McLaren have jumped them. And it's a good thing Leclerc of Verstappen has such a huge buffer in the Drivers' Championship because, yeah, if it was any smaller, the championship lead he had over the other drivers right now, he would definitely be looking very panicky. Use gear 8. Fail 10 when you can for Max Verstappen. Use gear 8 for Max. But I don't know what. Oh, well, I mean, having said that, Max has just set the fastest lap with a 22.8. So, okay. All of a sudden, Max is finding speed all of a sudden with his new hard tyres. Piastri has got to win today. I think this is a huge opportunity for Piastri to prove his worth at Woking today. Hamilton is only within just under 2.5 seconds behind Norris. Four seconds. Hamilton's made up 4 seconds. Yeah, and he managed to jump Verstappen in the process, didn't he? My God, oh my goodness me. This could be one hell of a finish between the two Maccas and Lewis Hamilton come the end of the race. Strat 30, more energy for Perez. Why on earth did he keep saying fail 10 at Red Bull? Fail 10 for Perez as well. Okay, Lewis Hamilton's radio message is 22.8 is the offset. Oh, for those of you wondering why am I ignoring the battle outside the top 10, it's because we've actually got something quite intriguing conjuring up at the front of the field. Although it has to be said, Gasly is got a train of cars behind him. Of course, Gasly is trying his hardest to cling on to P10, but of course, he is one of only 4 drivers. Hang on a minute. I don't get it. My screen says it's lap 26, but Russell, Perez, and Gasly's tyres are only 25, 24 laps old, which is weird because they've still not pitted yet. Pretty odd. Of course, the 4 drivers still yet to pit. Tsunoda, Russell, Perez, and Gasly are still circulating, not having made a pit stop, but somehow they're in the top 10. But it's pretty obvious that Gasly will fall into the pack very soon when he pits. It's really a matter of when, not if, and I think Gasly is desperately trying out for a safety car if he wants any slightest hope of points today. Tsunoda is about 15 seconds ahead of Hulkenberg, but of course Hulkenberg did make a very early pit stop due to tyre puncture damage. But of course Hulkenberg has got Alonso behind him. I don't know when Hulkenberg and Alonso are going to pit, but Charles Leclerc, engine braking +1, engine braking +1. Alex Albon is complaining about the team being too indecisive with their strategy calls. Tsunoda doing a great stint on the mediums, yeah. Sainz back to 6th. Oh my god, McLaren Mac Burgers, yeah. Alonso's just overtaken Hulkenberg. Oh yeah, he has. Amazing overtake by Alonso, and oh wow, I think Gabe for Aston Martin. There's an opportunity for points today. Of course, Alonso is within 15 seconds of Tsunoda on the road right now, but of course Tsunoda, Russell, Perez and Gasly still have yet to pit, so big points available today for Aston Martin yet again. Poor choice to start on the soft tyres, I've got to say. Really bad choice, because I've got to say, if they had chosen to start on mediums or hard tyres, I think Alonso would actually be fighting Carlos Sainz for 6th place. That's right, yeah. Carlos Sainz would probably be clinging on for dear life for 6th place against Alonso if Aston Martin had actually made the right decision at the start. Yoki should be top 8 in all races. Okay, that's a bit of a bold claim. Hulkenberg's pace has gone. I don't know, mate. I really don't. Obviously, Hulkenberg had the accident at the start of the race, so he had to pit early. Look, you've got to realise Hulkenberg is the master of extracting almost the maximum out of his car over a qualifying lap. He's very much like Jarno Trulli in that he keeps out-qualifying his machinery, but come the races, he is always falling back because, well, I mean, when your car is a horse, it's not exactly going to be in the points every race now, is it? Yeah, Albon. Let me concentrate on the front, please. Piastri saying the new fastest lap with a 22.65. He's responded to Hamilton and Verstappen. Verstappen is still over 10 seconds behind McLaren, but of course Hamilton's brilliant early stint on this new hard tyres leapfrogged him ahead of Verstappen. Having said that, both Ferraris have now fallen into no man's land, but Leclerc's just popped up with a 22.36 as the new fastest lap of the race. So all of a sudden, Ferrari have woken up, albeit at least about 15 laps too late as usual. Pretty disappointing by Ferrari, because we always know Ferrari can do better, but they never do. Yeah, McLaren are definitely putting Hamilton in his place for now. And I think Verstappen is now within 2.5 seconds of the 7 times world champion. Of course, Perez, Gasly and Ricciardo have all pitted. They've all dropped to outside the top 15, and the 2 Aston Martins are back in the top 10 again. And now, of course, Alonso is within 15 seconds of Tsunoda and Russell. So the medium compounds has worked out very nicely for the Aston boys. Oh dear, Gasly and Ricciardo in, my god, 19th and 20th. What a disastrous stint that was for both of them. Having said that, Perez comes out down in 15th place after his 28-lap stint on hard tyres. That has not worked out well. That has not worked out well for him whatsoever either. So no the pits yet. About time. 29 laps on the mediums. What an impressive stint by the young Japanese. I wonder where he's going to come out, but he should actually just come out around Hulkenberg Albon, actually. So I think that's actually works out pretty well. Hulkenberg's gone to the pits. Albon's gone to the pits as well. Yeah, absolutely terrible strategy for both of those drivers today. Okay, in Hulkenberg's case, he had the accident at the start, so nothing you could do. Gasly's leapfrog both Hulkenberg and Albon. Albon goes to last place. Tsunoda, where's he coming out? Is it 10th? Yeah, he's in 10th. He's just ahead of Magnussen. So, yeah, very good stint by Tsunoda. Stays in the top 10 after pitting. Very impressive stuff. Yeah, Russell is obviously waiting for a safety car. He's also in no man's land, but he has to be said, I don't really know whether this is a good idea to stay out for as long as he is, because, of course, if he stays out any longer, he'll fall behind Tsunoda and Magnussen if he's not careful. And he stays out for another lap, everyone. New fastest lap for Leclerc, 22.18. Ferrari, all of a sudden, are waking up. Well, Leclerc's waking up because Carlos Sainz is absolutely in a race of his own, frankly, not making any progress on Leclerc and not falling anywhere near and comfortably ahead of Russell. We're on for our seventh winner of 2024. What a season this year's actually been. You've got to realise, if we actually had a championship fight, this would actually be seen as a potential all-time classic this season, if you think about it. But of course, Max Verstappen's great start to the season has already really killed off a lot of hope for a driver's championship fight, unless, of course, something crazy happens at Red Bull. Oscar Piastri, there's some cars ahead now. Oh yeah, the lap traffic. Yep. For the first time in his career, Oscar Piastri is going to have to be dealing with lap traffic as a race leader. And of course, he's just put Ocon a lap down. And of course, so that's one car out of the way. But of course, he's got Albon, Hulkenberg, and Ricciardo in the next few corners to be lapping. Lots of traffic coming up for the two McLarens. Of course, Hamilton and Verstappen will be eagerly anticipating any errors from these two young drivers in the hopes of making up time on them. Russell, 31 laps on the hard tyres, the only driver remaining in the race who has still not pitted. He is 16 seconds behind Sainz, but he's only now 10 seconds ahead of Alonso, and I have to say, yeah, he's definitely hoping for a safety car. He's definitely hoping for a safety car, man. Do not compare Carlos Sainz to Kimi Räikkönen. Do not compare. Perez and Tsunoda. Oh, yeah, Perez is on the mediums. Tsunoda's on the hard. Of course, with Perez behind Tsunoda, I think it is pretty much a matter of when and not if Perez will be overtaking Tsunoda, because of course, do I need to remind you that RB is owned by you know who? Hamilton is getting gapped yet. Yep, his early stint on the hard tyres has definitely worn off, and of course he's now got to deal with Verstappen, who is now within DRS range of Lewis. Verstappen is now hovering around a second of Lewis Hamilton, and now we're going to see a battle between the 7 times world champion and the reigning triple world champion. I repeat, we have not seen many battles between Hamilton and Verstappen for the past 2.5 years, and I am actually looking forward to it. Has to be said, Ocon is actually within DRS range of Piastri, and wait, is Ocon on the verge of unlapping himself? Having spoken of that, Verstappen is within DRS range of Hamilton, half a second. And I think we could well be about to see a battle between the two of them. It's really close. It's really close. Leclerc sets a new fastest lap. 22 point... No, he hasn't. Sorry, I got carried away. But as it stands, the two Ferraris are lapping faster than the front four in front of them. They're lapping on average about 1.5 seconds faster than the cars in front, with the exception of course, Verstappen, who was actually going pretty quickly. Up to the two Ferraris are actually the fastest cars on the track now. So it's taken Ferrari about 5-6 laps to really warm those hard tyres up. And it's a shame that they're down in 5th and 6th, because I actually think McLaren would be really having their hands full competing against Ferrari right now. But due to their poor qualifying performance, they're not really in contention to win the race. And I think this is going to clearly be a battle between the two McLarens to win today's race. What a shame, of course. Russell has finally pitted at long last, and he's come out behind Tsunoda. Like I said, I told you that staying out long would end up costing George Russell, and indeed it has. He's come out behind both Astons, Perez and Tsunoda. Yeah, I don't really think it was worth it on Russell's part, unless, of course, he was clearly looking for a safety car. And Verstappen's overtaken Hamilton. Yes, I've just missed that. Why on earth was I being distracted by George Russell? Hamilton's re-overtaken Verstappen. But yeah, I don't know what just happened. Was it Hamilton and Verstappen in front? Got a real battle on our hands now. I think Verstappen was in front of Hamilton for a couple of corners, but then, of course, Hamilton did the switchback coming out of turn 4. We've got a tasty fight on our hands between Hamilton and Verstappen, two bitter rivals, not having done many battles in the past 2.5 years. And apparently Haas have told Hulkenberg that Zhou has done 27 laps on the tarmac, which is an interesting way of putting it. And of course, he overtakes him. So yeah, Zhou's hard tyres are very old, and well, he's about 12 seconds behind Bottas, so it's not exactly been it's been yet another poor race for Zhou Guanyu. But of course, I have to say, every race that passes by, I mean, I really don't see any hope for Zhou Guanyu's future in the sport. This is called battle. Yes, it is. Hamilton clinging on to third place ahead of Verstappen, but of course, I think Verstappen's now dropped back. Oh, look at that. Leclerc is just 2 seconds behind Verstappen now. Oh, man, Leclerc. Well, he's now in contention to potentially finish third today. I mean, the hard compounds have clearly faded off for Lewis Hamilton. Great early stint, but... Oh, and Pierre Gasly's retired. Pierre Gasly has retired. Of course, he was complaining about brakes issues. And for the second consecutive race, a brake problem has ended Pierre Gasly's race. My God, Pierre, please leave this team. Like, why are you staying at Alpine? Like, good grief. Yeah, next season, I mean, it looks like Ocon will be off to Haas, and I have to say this, I'm going to have to get used to the sight of watching Ocon finishing in front of Gasly next season, because unless Alpine sort their issues out as soon as possible, reliability, car development, weight issues, crash tests and all that, Alpine are in real dirt. They're in the mud. Perez within DRS range of Alonso, yes. Yes, you are correct. Perez, where's Perez? Oh, he's in 8th. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Blimey, I forgot Perez. Well, it's finally emerged in front of a lot of cars at last. Of course, he's going in front of Stroll and Tsunoda. He is chasing Alonso, and frankly, with the car he has, he's got to leapfrog Alonso, absolutely. Within the next lap or two, he will be in front of Alonso. Yeah, well, Hamilton, Mercedes, I think you should be keeping an eye out for Leclerc, who, of course, I think has just lowered his. Has he set a new fastest lap? No, not quite, but yeah, Leclerc is now very much solidly within 2 seconds of Verstappen. Yeah, it's going to be a close one. And just so you know, Sainz, well, yeah, Sainz is just maintaining position now, isn't he? Alex Albon, HPP on. Carlos Sainz, think about engine braking if needed. Zhou was just pitted, not absolutely irrelevant. I don't know why I'm commenting upon Zhou Guan Yu again. Sorry. Carlos Sainz just lapped him. Perez is surely going to overtake Alonso now. Look at that. I'm trying to see. Of course, Hamilton's dropped 9 seconds behind the McLarens. He's got Verstappen. Well, don't know what's happened there. Yeah, Alonso's now just pitted. So, yeah, I think Aston Martin realised that Perez was inevitably going to move past Alonso, and Aston Martin have used the opportunity to give Alonso some new tyres. 31 laps on the mediums. 31 lap on the mediums. What an impressive stint that was. But unfortunately, Alonso's going to drop down to 13th. And, he's only 3 seconds ahead of Hulkenberg. So that's not worked out as well as I thought it would, I'm afraid. And I think it's safe to say that starting on the soft tyres has completely ruined Alonso's race on this. Depending on what the tyre strategy works out. Yeah, it's not been good for Alonso. Carlos Bottas, yeah, just doing an okay job. Just doing an okay job. Not bad, not great, just decent. Solid 6 out of 10 performance. Carlos, switch red, switch position red. Let's have a 24.9 lap time. Yeah. That's interesting. I think Carlos Sainz just previously did a 23.7 on the previous lap. So yeah, Carlos is lapping a lot quicker in clear air compared to Leclerc, who's got to is now stuck in a Hamilton gaggle. Track position is absolutely key around here. There's no doubt about it. And of course, Alonso's got DRS on Ricciardo. They're going down the straight. Can Alonso... can he outbrake him? Not quite. Not quite. He's got in front of Ricciardo, go through turn 3 though. Alonso, can he cling on to 12th? Yes, he can. Alonso has overtaken Ricciardo. Who do I think will win? I think it's going to be Piastri. I think Piastri will win the race today. I think as long as his next pit stop goes well and he does this in and out laps pretty well, it's Piastri's race to lose. Piastri's got to win the race today, surely. Leclerc's got DRS, yeah. Oh, yeah, but... Perez is now 30 seconds behind Carlos Sainz. So being stuck in all that traffic has cost him at least half a minute. Oh, dear. I'm sorry. Like, it's a good... I mean, obviously, I think going into today's race, Red Bull was 60 points in front of McLaren in the constructor standings. Now, I'm going to try and work out all the points in my head. 43 points, 43 points for McLaren. Verstappen will get 12 points, and Carlos Perez will get 6 points. So, well, McLaren will close the points gap in the constructors down to just 35 points, but Verstappen has just... He's out-dragged Hamilton down the straight. Can he hold on to third? Oh, Hamilton's pitting. Yeah, I didn't realise. Yeah, sorry, I thought he was racing. What an idiot. Sorry, but yeah, McLaren are actually on course to close within 40 points of Red Bull at the end of the race today, if it stands as it is. So it has to be said, yeah, Red Bull are actually on course to lose the Constructors' Championship this season if Perez continues to struggle as he is. And you have to realise, I think the bare minimum for Sergio Perez is to score enough points to help Red Bull clinch the Constructors' title, like Valtteri Bottas did when he was at Mercedes. Because with Valtteri Bottas and Nico Rosberg at Mercedes, they were able to win the Constructors' Championships 8 seasons in a row. But with Perez on board, of course, they lost out in 2021 despite Max becoming world champion. And it looks like they could be repeating the same thing again this season. So, yeah, Perez, I mean, unless he has like an amazing race next race, and I honestly really do not think Perez is going to be at Red Bull for much longer now. Like, he could be gone by Monza. He could be gone by, I don't know, not Suzuka, Baku, I beg your pardon, since, of course, Baku's now taken Suzuka's place in the calendar as a race in late September. Nico Rosberg is the second best driver in modern F1. Okay, that's an interesting take. I don't know what to say about that. Oh, yes, Sergio Perez has just set a new fastest lap of 22.2. Well, let's be real here, folks. Perez does have the ability to lap quickly, you know. It's just that he makes far too many stupid errors. I mean, of course, let's be real here, folks. If the only way Ricciardo will get that second Red Bull seat if if Perez cannot stop making these awful mistakes in qualifying, I think that's where his seat is on the threat, really. It's not the fact that he lacks the ability to produce fast lap times, it's more his lack of ability to stay out of trouble that's the problem. Because if we're talking about raw speed, I think Perez has definitely got the edge on Ricciardo right now. But, it's going to be a huge, huge conversation at the Red Bull headquarters this summer when it comes to reviewing Perez's season so far. And I think, Perez is definitely going to need a great result next weekend. I think if Perez finishes on the podium or, finishes within, 10 seconds of Verstappen in the next race, then I think he will probably stay on for the next, most of the rest of the season. But I think if he does drop off, then I think, yeah, his seat will be under threat for next year. And I think if he does cost Red Bull the Constructors' Championship, then we can pretty much see Perez wave goodbye to his Red Bull seat. Don't you worry, folks. If I do a live stream where I reviewed all the drivers' performances mid-season in the summer break, I have got some pretty scathing reviews reserved for Checo Perez. He is not going to be getting off very lightly. And of course, I think that is really interesting. I think it's only 4 cars that have gone a lap down, by the way, which is really strange considering the fact that this is actually quite a short track. Only 2.7 miles long, but yet only Magnussen, Ocon, Sargeant and Zhou are a lap down. So, and as it stands, I think Albon's actually got a bit of a buffer in front of him, in between the back of him and Piastri, who's coming to lap him. And it's very interesting to see that all the cars in front have slowed down considerably now that they've all gone very deep into their new tyre compound, their hard compound stints. But of course, Hamilton's just completed a 23.1 on his previous lap, despite just having pitted for new hard tyres. Don't know what's going on with the track temperature. It's just the track surface. It doesn't seem to be very conducive for producing fast lap times, despite Hamilton and Leclerc having just pitted for new compounds. And Leclerc is all over the rear of Hamilton. He is, honestly, can he get DRS? Not quite. No, not quite, but he is getting close to Lewis. I mean, if Perez gets sacked mid-season, I mean, I think I did say on Chatter Team stream yesterday that if he does get sacked by Red Bull before the end of this season, I think I can't even see a team like Williams, Haas, or Sauber wanting Perez at this point. Like, do you really want to drive with this unreliable and this erratic at your team? Like, I know obviously it's a different thing driving a midfield car, but when you consider Perez did a decade of driving in the midfield before joining Red Bull, I have to say I don't think he has that much of an appetite to drop to the back of the grid like we see with Bottas, Ricciardo, and Kimi Räikkönen, who of course have spent most of their careers at the front of the grid. Hence why I think they're willing to tolerate racing in the midfield, because of course the midfield, it was something of an unknown quantity when they went to Sauber and RB. Although, of course, with the way Ricciardo was driving at McLaren, it almost felt like he was already in the lower midfield pack. Why not do it now? Yeah, but the problem with Ricciardo is that I'm trying to compare his best lap so far in this race has actually been a second quicker than Tsunoda, funnily enough, but it's just that Tsunoda keeps beating Ricciardo in terms of qualifying speed, so it's not like Ricciardo is that... I don't really think Ricciardo would be much of an improvement on Perez in terms of qualifying speed if, well, frankly, if he is going to be an improvement whatsoever, I'm afraid. So I think there needs to be a bit more improvement from Ricciardo in terms of his quality speed if they're really going to seriously consider a return for him at this point, despite, of course, the rumours being in favour of a Ricciardo return. And Stroll has just pitted. Stroll is in the pits. That's going to drop him miles down the pack. Alonso's back up to 10th place in front of Ricciardo. Whilst Russell is, well, he's about 17 seconds ahead of Tsunoda, and he's within sight of Perez. So Perez has actually got a bit of work to do now in defending 7th place. Honestly, I think obviously when we talk about Sergio Perez, I think surely, I'm not sure, does he really want to go back to the midfield, having actually tasted life at the front of the grid? Like, surely there must be opportunities like IndyCar racing for Sergio Perez, like having experienced what winning races like. Surely, I don't think, like, you have to realise Perez has had a very different career path to the likes of Kimi, Bottas, and Ricciardo, in that those three spent most of their careers at the front of the grid and then dropped back to the midfield in their older years. Whereas Perez has done the opposite. It's just a very odd career path due to the fact that, thanks to the struggles of Gasly and Albon at Red Bull, he has he did suddenly, out of the blue at the age of 31, become a Red Bull driver. I mean, usually top teams would prefer to sign a young driver like Leclerc, Russell, Albon, and Gasly as a replacement for their outgoing drivers. Piastri's pitted. Oh my god. Is Piastri going to get out in front of Launchback? Oh! Norris has got out in front of Piastri. Norris in front of Piastri. Norris is the net race leader. We'd like to re-establish the order for Lando Norris's convenience. Well, have we just seen team orders at McLaren? Have we just seen team orders at McLaren? Oh my God. Well. Norris, huge beneficiary there. Piastri comes out 3 seconds behind Norris. Like, my God. So, I know the tyre drop-off's pretty bad around here, but I didn't think it'd be that bad. And, well, it looks like McLaren are indeed engineering a Lando Norris victory in for the sake of cheering Lando up. But I don't think Oscar Piastri is going to be quite angry come the checkered flag. I'm pretty sure he'll be coming out with some angry messages. ICS button for Piastri. Oh, this is getting frantic now, boys. But Lando Norris has just set a new fastest lap at 21.95. So, he's definitely perked up. My God, these new medium tyres are looking really fast. And of course the two Saubers are 18th and 19th, net last on the road. This has been a dreadful season for Sauber. Of course, their garish bright green colours and their announcement as stakers, their title sponsor, has gone horrifically wrong. And frankly, Sauber have become a glorified Adrian Moda with their tacky livery change. Gotta say it, their car definitely stands out when you look at it in the pack of on the starting grid, but apart from that, they're rubbish. They're absolutely rubbish. Oh damn! I feel bad for Oscar Piastri. I feel so bad. This is. You gotta be kidding me, man. Yeah, Astro, Steve, O'Neill, and Brabham, I'm not gonna be happy with that. Yeah, oh yeah, they want to help Lando Norris close the gap to Max Verstappen, absolutely. How can I forget about that? How can I forget there is indeed a fairly narrow chance of Lando Norris fighting Verstappen? Of course, Verstappen's just pitted and he's come out down in 5th place behind Hamilton and Leclerc, and yeah, Red Bull's day is going from bad to worse, really. And now, of course, very much, I don't really think Max has got any chance of finishing on the podium. It's definitely a fight between Hamilton and Leclerc for that final podium spot in a race that has been comprehensively dominated by the two McLarens. And Perez, new fastest lap, 1:21.096. Okay, I don't know what to say about that. Bloody hell, Perez has actually set one hell of a flying lap, which, I mean, that brings into question yet again, why can't Perez get it together in qualifying? Like, this is inexcusable. The guy clearly has got the raw speed, but he cannot get a qualifying lap together. Like, this is so poor from a 34-year-old. A 14-year veteran of the sport cannot get the job done in qualifying. It's beyond pathetic. It really is, because he's clearly got the pace, but oh, geez, it feels like I'm arguing with a brick wall when I talk about Sergio Perez. Yeah, I think Hamilton's tyres are knackered. And he's got to make sure Leclerc doesn't get past him. So, yeah, his chances of winning the race today is pretty much done. Unless we see something crazy happen up front. Where the hell did Perez produce a 1:21.1 from? Like, that's... I mean, that's 4 tenths faster than Sainz in the Ferrari. Mental. And he's gone, what? 6 tenths faster than Norris. with that fastest lap. Where the hell did that come from? Like, I know the medium tyres are very good, but my God, that was insanely quick. Of course, I am still wondering what Verstappen could produce when he gets to the finish line, and I want to see how quick he's going. Of course, Verstappen just set a purple sector 1. Yeah, I mean, Oscar Piastri was pretty good at the first stint at Miami, but of course he got in that collision with Sainz. And yeah, Verstappen's just set a 120.9. Dear God, I have to say this, but qualifying is not only a problem for Perez, but I think it's just a problem for Red Bull in general now, because it's pretty obvious Red Bull have got the pace, but for some reason they just simply could not get their tyres warmed up in qualifying, and Verstappen is getting angry. Do not give me that BS. You gave me the effing strategy, okay? I'm trying to rescue myself, for F's sake. Max is angry. Oh, he's angry, okay? Oh dear, what a day. What an absolute shipwreck of a race for the Red Bull team. Oh dear, Red Bull, you have absolutely blown this race horribly. From starting third, Verstappen is down in 5th, and you know, the 2 fastest laps of the race go to Verstappen and Perez, but they're down in 5th and 8th, and of course Perez is 12 seconds behind Russell, so oh dear, what an absolute disaster. The post-race debrief is going to be pretty tense and angry at Milton Keynes. Of course, as it stands, Red Bull will only take 14 points from this weekend, whilst McLaren will be taking, well, actually 15 points, I beg your pardon, because of fastest lap point, but McLaren is still on course to take 43 points, so the championship gap could be closing down to just 32 points between McLaren and Red Bull. It's getting close. Is it because I don't think it's because he had to let Norris pass on the first lap. I don't think it's got anything to do with that illegal maneuver he did. I think it's more because obviously the strategy has worked out so badly for Red Bull, and the fact that Verstappen has dropped down to 5th place because of the strategy. I don't think it's got anything to do with the fact he was forced to concede position to Norris. No. I mean, he was complaining about strategy to his team, getting the F word, the BS word, yelling and shouting. You know what Max is like when he's angry. He's a very difficult customer to deal with. And now, of course, we've got 17 laps remaining, and Verstappen is closing in on Leclerc with DRS down the straight. No, Leclerc just about holds on to position, but can Verstappen sneak through turn 3? Has he got through? No. Oh dear. Oh dear. Russell pits. That's Perez back up to 7th. Why the hell is Carlos Sainz having so many radio messages? I mean, he's just playing a waiting game, isn't he? Carlos Sainz is just there hoping something happens up front. I think that'd be oh man, oh yeah, how can we forget? The Max Verstappen to Mercedes rumours could be back on again, folks. Oh my goodness me, like Mercedes have clearly got a quick car with Hamilton and Hamilton winning the last race, and of course Russell sneaking the win at Austria, but well, Verstappen's now got DRS again on Leclerc. Can he make the switch back on Leclerc going into turn 3? Leclerc holds on just once again. My God. Leclerc is doing a great defensive job, I'm going to say. 16 laps to go. 16 laps to go. Operation 6. Operation 6. Oh. Smooth operator. Tomo thought Bottas was going to have an absolute stormer. Well, he's just received a radio message of pedal position 7. Pedal position 7. They've got a throttle problem at Sauber, and of course Zhou has been told sock 6er. Sock 6. What's going on at that garbage team, honestly? Sauber, like, you're absolutely awful. Can't even get the best. You're losing out to Logan Sargeant. And yet, Magnussen, well, yeah, he's just been lapped. Piastri will be all over his backside, but I think Piastri has very much conceded the race victory today. Uncooked steak, yep. You know, they got the barbecue racks out at Hinville, hoping to cook up a storm this season, but they are still 0 points on the board, and the grill is ice cold. Even colder than Kimi Räikkönen. It's just simply not happened at all this season for the Swiss team. And Russell has set a new fastest lap of a 20.3. Yeah, I mean, Max 2 Mercedes could be a real thing, folks. We could be seeing the Max 2 Mercedes rumours kick off now. Is that Valtteri Bottas' old sponsor, Finn Rousing? Is that who he used to be? Is that the guy who said, oh, to whom it concerns, F you? Dan Ricciardo has been told to do 15 pull-ups. I think that's probably a code word for let's do 15 fastest laps. Probably, but his tyres have now, he's been on these hard tyres for now 27 laps. So I have to say it, I don't think Ricciardo's getting points. Perez, let's see, Russell, can he lower his fastest lap time? No, he's done a 21.0, but he is the fastest man on track right now, but he is about 45 seconds behind Norris, so yeah, no, and he's 33 seconds behind Hamilton, so yeah, I think all he's fighting for is 7th place now. And yeah, I just completely didn't notice that Verstappen overtook Leclerc. I beg your pardon, I didn't notice Verstappen overtook Leclerc. And because of lap traffic, well, this is going to be interesting to see Verstappen try and fight Hamilton for the last podium spot. Oh, Finn Rousing used to own Sauber before the Audi takeover. And of course, yeah, they've sold their shares to the Audi motorsport operation. And I think Finn Rousing have done a very good job in disposing of the team at a convenient time because yeah, I think it is safe to say I am a bit surprised by Perez's performance today in that, you know, I thought this weekend had basically confirmed Perez's death warrant at Red Bull in the terms of his future in this team, because I thought there's no way he's going to finish 7th, but his race pace has actually been fantastic today, surprisingly enough. He's been doing more or less similar lap times to Max Verstappen throughout the race, and had Perez actually kept his car on the road in qualifying and at least qualified in the top 10, I think Perez would probably be right up there fighting it with the 2 Ferraris today. I think he'd probably be in front of Carlos Sainz at the minimum. So it's actually been a good day for Perez, surprisingly enough. surprisingly enough. It's really weird to say it, but Perez has been okay, and I think the threats of a potential replacement by Dan Ricciardo has woken him up slightly. Yeah, but Dan Ricciardo having a bit of an average race though, so it's not like it's very realistic that we'd see someone like Ricciardo replace Perez. If I'm going to be truly honest, I don't think Ricciardo has got the same raw speed he used to have 5-6 years ago. I think if Perez can just qualify well and do consistently quick lap times in the race and get good results, I think as long as he just about helps Red Bull sneak to another Constructors win, that could be enough to save him for the next 2 years. Because, of course, let's face it, Red Bull don't really have anyone in a pipeline to replace Perez, nor do they want Verstappen to be put under pressure in the Drivers' Championship. I'm just going to go off for a drink now, so you can entertain yourselves. 9 laps to go, folks. Has anything changed? Not really. Oh, yeah, Max is complaining, obviously. Max, super Max. Oh, yeah, Hamilton and Verstappen, where they... Oh, yeah, they're going it down the straight. Wait, Max and Lewis hit each other? What's going on? Oh, my God, Max has got a puncher. Max has just got a puncher. Blimey. Oh, dear, this race has gone from bad to worse for Max Verstappen. It has been a weekend of hell for the Red Bull boys. And Leclerc's back up to 4th place. What a disaster. What on earth is going on? Yeah, I have said it many times about Max Verstappen. When he gets angry, when he gets wound up, oh dear, his composure under pressure completely disappears. And this is what happens. Lewis Hamilton will be smiling in his crash helmet, knowing he got one over Max Verstappen today. I mean, Team NH44 will be laughing their asses off. I mean, Perez and Russell, well, Russell's now 5 seconds behind Perez, so, I don't have to say, I think Perez has probably got 7th place sewn up. Damn, crazy, absolutely crazy. Somehow, neither Max or Lewis got any damage on their cars. Apparently, Max is accusing Lewis Hamilton of being childish. That's a bit rich coming from Max Verstappen, calling people childish. I don't know what to say about that. And Zhou Guan Yu is complaining about having a massive vibration on the front. Sauber's season, well, it's gone from worst to completely rotten. I mean, right now, I am getting flashbacks of Prost 2000 with the Sauber squad. And, of course, we all know in 2014, they failed to score a single point that year. So, of course, they are on course for their first pointless season in about a decade. Well, we've got a lot to talk about in the post-race review, don't we now, folks? I mean, Max having a very angry day on the radio, Perez being a lot faster than expected, McLaren 1-2, McLaren have clearly got the fastest car on the grid. What else? Hamilton, another solid race from the 7-time champion. Decent pace from Ferrari, but of course it does seem to be Ferrari, just like Red Bull, have struggled to make their tyres reach the optimum temperature when required, which has ultimately cost them the race win to McLaren and seen all of their cars finish behind Hamilton today. Once again, another solid race for Yuki Tsunoda. 35 laps on the hard tyres, on for a very well-deserved 9th place. Oh, and Lance Stroll has overtaken Alonso. Lance Stroll has leapfrogged Alonso. What's going on there? Oh dear, Alonso's form is very much dipping now this season. That's another talking point. Alonso's form of late has just been so average. Very average, I may say. And then, of course, well, as for the rest of the field, well, Sauber are just absolutely terrible. Having said that, though, Logan Sargeant has now dropped to last place. So, I mean, Logan Sargeant is... There's no way Logan Sargeant is going to be an F1 next season. Sorry. Just go. Logan, just leave Formula 1 now, mate. You're not good enough. I think it's probably be a good time to yep, Norris will close the gap in the championship to by about 15 points to Max, but Max is clearly, I think it's still about at least 60 points ahead as it stands, so got to take way more points than this if Norris wants any chance of winning the championship, and he's got to hope that Red Bull problems with tyre warm-up temperatures continues, because Red Bull do have the pace, but they just can't get their tyres up to temperatures. I mean, look at the fastest laps they've completed today. Like, they were 7 tenths faster than what McLaren have done, but qualifying clearly cost Verstappen today, and of course the tyres not being up to temperature costing him a chance of taking the race lead. And of course, as for Perez, well, I don't know what his problem is with the car when it comes to qualifying. As for Ferrari, I think Ferrari can ask themselves the same questions, because I think they've got the pace as well, but not only do they not seem to be able to help get a car that can reach those optimum temperatures quickly like the McLaren and the Mercedes can, but they don't seem to be able to have decent tyre life preservation like McLaren and Mercedes. Piastri back to P1. What's going on? What's happened? Norris has given a race win. Norris has given up the race win to Piastri. Oh, damn, that's crazy. Norris has decided to give the race win to Piastri. That is... Well, I'm just speechless, folks. I'm absolutely speechless. I really do wonder. Oh, right, Lando is let Oscar through, and Lando has said, yeah, you don't need to say anything. That is... I don't know what's happened there. Well, I'm speechless, folks. I am absolutely speechless. Well, I think if this was like 2006, I think Kimi Räikkönen would have kept hold of his race wins back then. But of course, with the normal mechanical issues Kimi had at McLaren, I don't think we ever saw a situation where it was like a 1-2 between McLaren. And we have to realise Kimi completely destroyed both Coulthard and Montoya for raw speed. So I think Montoya did lose a couple of race wins at McLaren due to mechanical issues. So we never saw Kimi get into a situation where there was a discussion over who deserved to win because of so many mechanical issues. I think only about 2 occasions did we see Kimi and Felipe Massa swap positions in at Ferrari. You know, the 2007 Brazilian Grand Prix and the 2008 Chinese Grand Prix, and that was it. And there was no controversy about it because it was very clearly a championship situation, and frankly, considering both drivers never went on to have careers where both of them were able to ever dominate F1 at any point, no one really cared about it. Piastri is now 2.5 miles away from his debut win in Formula One. This is quite controversial to say the least, but right up until the final stint, he was leading the race. I am not sure what has happened, whether Norris has voluntarily given up the win or whether McLaren have forced Norris to concede victory today. It's a very, very going to be some very strange scenes, I've got to say. This has got flashbacks to David Coulthard giving up victory at the 1998 Australian Grand Prix to Mika Hakkinen due to, of course, something strange going on in the pit stops. I think my timing screen is about 20 seconds behind yours, say, so just please hold your horses. Hold your horses, of course, but on my timing screen, Piastri is going to come through to win by 2 seconds over Lando Norris, his first ever victory in Formula One. What a strange situation. So it does appear that Lando Norris did concede victory voluntarily, so I don't even know what to say. Well done, Oscar. Well done, buddy. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. That is obviously Oscar's radio message. Of course, Lewis and Verstappen collision is under investigation, and Max needs to see a medic, apparently. Apparently, the medics are going to be seeing all the drivers after today's race with the boiling hot temperatures. There's been no position changes on the final lap, with Tsunoda and Stroll coming in at 9th and 10th, and Alonso, the final driver on the lead lap, coming home in 11th place. So, I mean, apart from the McLaren drivers, not much happened in the last 10 laps, because of course we saw Verstappen lose a position to Leclerc when he hit Hamilton. Gotta give credit to Yuki Tsunoda. I do not understand why on earth Aston Martin do not want Yuki Tsunoda, because he is one hell of a driver. He's potentially could be a decent driver in the midfield. Like, Tsunoda's definitely got to be one of the top 10 drivers for me this season. Yeah, well done, McLaren. What a day they've had, but I think Lando Norris definitely cost himself the chance to win today with that poor start. Thank you for the 7 likes. Yeah, I did say it. Alonso has been really poor for the past 5 or 6 races. If when F1 is watching the what is it? The watching it on playback, I'm sorry, Will, but Fernando Alonso has just been awful recently. Like, what's happened? What's happened? How has he become so bad recently? Not bad, but how has he become so average? Because by Alonso's standards, this is really, really quite bizarrely poor. Oh, right, Stroll had newer tyres. That's why Stroll... Oh, I think Alonso gave way to Stroll, didn't he? Yeah, I think Alonso allowed Stroll to overtake him to have a chance at chasing Tsunoda in the last few laps, which is understandable, but it has to be said, Alonso just didn't really impress me today at all, once again. Really not impressing me. Like, really just, I don't know. I mean, that advantage he had last season has completely wiped out. I mean, credit to Stroll. He looks a lot better than he did last year, but I don't even know what to say anymore about Aston Martin. So, shall we do a driver rating for everyone today? This is going to be a bit controversial because I think I have to give both Oscar and Norris an A- for their performances. Piastri got the best start, but for some reason, for his last pit stop, he did lose a lot of time to Norris. I think obviously McLaren, for some baffling reason, completely underestimated how much time he would lose in those 2 laps. He would stay out to Norris. Norris, A-, poor start. Okay, yes, his race pace was good throughout, but then, of course, the decision to then give the win to Piastri is really strange, to say the least, considering, okay, I know Verstappen is probably going to end up becoming world champion, but who knows? Come the end of the season, those 7 points could make a difference to this year's championship if Red Bull really do fall apart. I'm just saying, I know we're like at least 12 races away from the end of the season, but you never know. You just do not know. Hamilton, A+. I think he's done as much as he humanly possibly can do with the Mercedes. McLaren have the faster car, but Hamilton and Mercedes leapfrog the Ferraris and Max Verstappen. I think an A grade. I think I have to say this. I think Lewis Hamilton is arguably driver of the race. I'm not kidding. I think he could be. I actually think Lewis Hamilton is driver of the race, surprisingly. Charles Leclerc, 4th, 6th for Ferrari. I'll probably give those two a, I don't know, a B+. Decent race, but Ferrari, for some reason, can't get their tyres up to 10. Max Verstappen, 5th place. This is going to be tough. I think I'm going to give him a B-. Not really sure what to say, to be honest. Struggled with tyre temperatures all weekend. And when he did say his fastest lap, it came when obviously he was nowhere near close to contention to win the race. When he was falling down to 4th and 5th place. Sergio Perez, I'll give him a C+. Shocking qualifying, but had a great race today. But with the problems Verstappen and the Ferraris have had today, I think Perez could have finished 4th. So he costed himself a lot of points. And once again, the topic of does Sergio Perez deserve to be a Red Bull driver came up again. But his lap times were very good today, in spite of his qualifying debacles yet again. George Russell, I'll give him a C grade. Q1 completely killed his weekend off, and it has to be said, I know he set the fastest lap, but that was obviously because he had clear air, so obviously it was very easy for him to get the fastest lap. 9th place, Yuki Tsunoda, A+, outstanding performance all weekend. 41 lap stint on the hard tyres. What a race by the young Japanese. And I have to say, I definitely think Tsunoda deserves a better seat. Maybe not the Red Bull number 2 seat, but he definitely deserves a chance somewhere else now. 10th and 11th, Stroll and Alonso, I beg your pardon. I'll probably give both of them a B grade. I don't think they could have done any more. shockingly bad strategy decision to stop both of them on soft tyres. I think that allowed Tsunoda to get 9th, but considering both Aston qualified 7th and 9th, but yeah, I mean, I think Aston Martin will be quite disappointed to be going away with just 1 point, considering that the car has actually improved somewhat with whatever they've done with the upgrades. Ricciardo, B-, tried his hardest, but I think he just didn't get those breaks today. Hulkenberg, I'll just give him a B grade because once again, qualifying propelled him into a strong position before inevitably falling back. Albon, I'll probably give him like a B grade. Can't do any more. Magnussen, B-. He's leaving the team at the end of the year, so considering he did some very good lap times throughout qualifying yesterday before dropping to 50th due to the wet, dry conditions, I think this is the maximum he could have done. 16th, Bottas, B-. That Sauber is trash. Sauber, good grief. Like, I don't even know what Bottas is going to do at the end of the year. Like, is he going to stay at Sauber? Would he try and look for another seat? Or would he announce his retirement from Formula One? Who knows? But I'm going to say this. Bottas is not 21st in the championship because of himself. It's because of the team he's driving for. 17th, Sargeant, C-. Don't care. Absolutely no interest in him. 18th, Ocon, C-. I know the Alpine is bad, but he made no impression today whatsoever. I know Alpine have a car that is just awful, but surely he should have tried to got in a mix there to try and finish 40th or 50th, but he didn't, so forget it. And as for Zhou, probably my FDZ of the day, my fraud detection zone winner of the day. 19th, got to give him a D grade. Just so slow. I mean, what did he do, really? I don't know. I don't even care. And I don't even remember because, you know, he's got no future in Formula 1. That's all I'm going to say. As for Gasly, I'm not going to give him a rating. I'll probably give him a C-, but then, of course, that's not his fault because, of course, his brakes failed yet again. Yet again for the second consecutive race in a row. Hello there, I am the Rebel Spy. I apologize, I didn't notice your name. I was too busy talking about ratings for the drivers. I apologize. I will read the ratings out again. An A- for the 2 McLaren boys, of course, both of them up and down like a yo-yo. Ultimately, Piastri was given the win on team orders. An A grade for Hamilton for extracting the maximum from the Mercedes. A B grade for both Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Ferrari, just like Red Bull, can't get their tyres up to temperature at the right moment, despite obviously having the pace to compete today. Max Verstappen, it's got to be a B-. Don't know. I have not obviously seen the accident between himself and Hamilton, but of course, I think Verstappen clearly probably made a mistake of some sort. Then, of course, McLaren got the most sponsors. Then you've got Perez, C grade. Q1 costed him again. Another C grade for Russell. Q1 also costed him. A grade for Tsunoda. One of my number 2 choice for driver of the day. B grade for the Aston Martin boys. C grade for Ricciardo. Not C grade. Probably B- for Ricciardo, I beg your pardon. B's all round for the both Hulkenberg and Albon. A C grade for Magnussen. A C-, a C grade for Bottas. C- for Sargeant. C- for Ocon. A D grade for Zhou, and the FDZ award winner of the day, fraud detection zone. Not good enough from Zhou, who's now in his third year of Formula One. I always had a feeling he was never really truly F1 material, having spent 6 years and having only won about 7 or 8 races in Formula 2 and Formula 3, excluding the Asian Formula 3 series, of course, where he was competing against 16 and 17-year-olds. Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe. Of course, yes, it's better than what he did last year, where he took out Gasly and Ocon at the start and damaged Ricciardo's car. But instead, this year, he was just flat out slow throughout the entire weekend. Just really slow. I mean, at least last year, he qualified 6th. Of course, the engine store issue was not his fault, but frankly, that was a shocking error to then crash into the back of Ricciardo, Gasly, and Ocon in the way he did. But we are now talking about 2024. Yes, McLaren have not only got the most sponsors, but they've got the fastest car on the grid. McLaren have got the fastest car on the grid, and I expect McLaren to win at least 5 or 7 or 8 races this year. They've got to try and win as many races as they can, because next season is the year they should challenge for both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship. 100%. Look at that. I think Perez got 8 votes in the Perez or recorded for the number 2 seat at Red Bull. Of course, Danny Rick got 12 votes, but I think on today's performance, I think as long as I think if Perez can avoid any more Q1, Q2 slip up, he could keep his seat. But of course, he is very much there for the sake of clinching the constructors' title win. So it remains to be seen where Perez can go. Drivers' Championship is still on. Maybe. I'm just gonna say maybe, but I think we've still got like at least about another 10 or 11 races of the season to go, so you never know. But I think I don't really see Verstappen having bad days like this on a regular basis. I just don't. If you're just joining me, I hope you're doing very well. That is the race result. Put in your... The last Australian driver to win a race has got to be Dan Ricciardo at the 2021 Italian Grand Prix at Monza, Roxford. I mean, the Monaco win you were thinking of was about 6 years ago, which was actually his last win for the Red Bull team. Because Ricciardo, I don't think it takes any prizes to guess that Ricciardo has very much has lost his status as Australia's best driver in Formula One. But then, of course, he did spend about 9 years being the only Australian driver in Formula One. So it's not like an accolade that he's really had to fight to keep hold of since, well, let's be truly honest, Ricciardo is unquestionably miles past his best. And there's more people joining in now. I mean, well, I hope you're doing well. Of course, Piastri won the race thanks to team what appears to be team orders due to what was, I think, a slow pit stop coupled with some slow in and out laps for Piastri, seeing him drop behind Norris, having actually led most of the race prior to his final pit stop. And then Norris and McLaren decided to hand Piastri the win. I don't know what the ramifications of that is. I mean, is it an equal driver policy at McLaren? I suspect so, because, I mean, if Norris really was number 1, I don't think he would do something like that. Gotta say, folks, we've had a much better season of Formula 1 compared to last year. Yeah, thank you for that copy the radio message, Ruxford. Amazing day for us as a team, that's the main thing. A long journey to achieving our merit. A long way clear of the rest. Oh, right, that's Lando Norris talking. Oscar got me off the line. It's been coming and he deserved it today. Oh, it was team orders. Yeah, absolutely knew it. But I'm just saying, if Red Bull and Max Verstappen struggle horribly in the second half of the year, I think this could be a result that both Norris and McLaren come to regret. I just hope it doesn't come down to that. And I think if Norris does close the gap to Verstappen, then I think Piastri will probably hand him a race win later on in the season if they have another 1-2 again. And I think, unfortunately for Piastri, I think he might have to be forced to do a few team orders in favour of Norris as this season progresses, I'm afraid. Hello there, username 132. I hope you're doing well today. I hope you enjoyed the race. Yeah, Piastri handed his first ever win on team orders. What a result, by the way. I mean, Piastri drove quite well throughout most of this race. But of course, I think it's going to be a very close teammate battle between Piastri and Norris. But of course, Norris is the one who's really the closest to Max Verstappen in the championship. If you have any questions to ask me, please ask me now. What questions do you want to ask me about this race and about the drivers involved? Yeah, I mean, I think on the balance of the race, Piastri deserved it, but his final pit stop and what happened around that period of the race did go quite horribly wrong for Piastri. So, and I think McLaren did feel a bit sorry for him, hence why they asked Norris to hand him the race win today. But it does remind me somewhat of what happened at the 1998 Australian Grand Prix when David Coulthard was forced to hand the win to Mika Häkkinen. Max Verstappen, dude, I think this is just the way Max Verstappen is. I think when we get round to Spa next weekend, I think Max will be back to normal again, because I think as long as Max doesn't lose too much ground too rapidly in the championship, I think if Max can eventually get back to like winning ways around like at some point later on in the season, maybe take his first ever win at Singapore and maybe win at Baku, then I think Max will probably just... I think he was just angry at how poorly Red Bull executed their strategy today. They clearly had the pace to compete for the win, but their qualifying pace and their decision-making in terms of when to pit completely cost them. I think they ran... I mean, McLaren were the ones who pitted earlier. They knew that fresh tyres would work better on this dusty track surface where the tyres deteriorate very quickly, whilst Red Bull with Max Verstappen clearly gambled by making him go longer, and it completely costed him any chance of not only winning the race, but of course, with his collision with Hamilton, it costed him a chance of a podium. Of course, if Hamilton does get a 5-second penalty, then I think Leclerc will clinch third place by less than 0.2 of a second, funnily enough. But having said that, I think on the balance, I don't think this race has costed Verstappen too much right now. But I think if this becomes more of a regular thing with the McLarens finishing 1-2 and the Red Bulls having to fight Mercedes and Ferrari for position, then I think Max's frown will get larger on his face. The brake fluid in the Red Bull, yeah, I think they have got some problems. Yeah, McLaren jumped to second in the Constructors' Championship. Oh, yeah, it was Ferrari who was 60 points behind Red Bull. Sorry. I mean, Ferrari do get to cut the gap between themselves and Red Bull and Constructors, but of course, Ferrari are now down to third place. So I think Red Bull's main hopes of keeping the Constructors' title is going to have to rely upon Mercedes, McLaren, and Ferrari taking points off each other if Red Bull want to keep hold of both the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championship. Yoss might tear Horner a new one. Oh my god. Oh no, let's not go there again. Oh, I don't know why I'm laughing so hard. I mean, it's literal child abuse we're talking about here, but for some stupid reason, I'm having to reinstate moderate. Sorry, I'm going to read out Username's comment, which has been censored by YouTube because he called Christian Horner Christian Horny. Yeah, don't write stuff like that down, okay? Don't, because I know what's a YouTube can be really strict with comments. Christian Horner should sign Yuki Tsunoda. I agree, yeah, but the fact you spelled his name as Horny is has got your message hidden by a YouTube username. Oh my god, Wolf versus Horner, yep. 2021 is back, folks. Only this time, Max and it's over third place at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Any more questions? Any more questions you want to ask me about the race? Like, do you think Aston Martin can maintain 5th place in the Constructors? Do you think they can close the deficit between themselves and the teams in front again? Because I have to say, if it wasn't for their soft tyre strategy, they could have easily had 9th and 10th today. But of course, because they Stroll and Alonso wasted the first 8 to 12 laps on the soft tyres, I think that definitely costed them at least 3 points today. In terms of lap time, Stroll did a 22.3 as his fastest lap. Only half a second slower than the 2 McLarens up front. So that's not bad, but of course qualifying, well, they just don't have a lot of qualifying speed in that car, I'm afraid. And I think it's clearly costed them this season now. Because, of course, 18 months ago, I think there was a huge gap between Red Bull and the other teams. And Aston Martin had a great start to last season, hence why they had the second fastest car for at least 2/3 of 2023. You have to realise, of course, Ricciardo's fastest lap was a 22.6. So really, yeah, Aston Martin did have a faster car than RB. But having said that, though, the Ferraris, the Red Bulls, and the Mercedes all showed that they can go even faster than when they're in clear air. So I have to say, it's going to be very hard for Aston Martin to really close them down. But of course, Aston did spend a lot of this race racing in the pack, so they didn't get much clear air to do any fast laps, if you know. As for Haas, well, 23.4 and a 23.5 were the fastest laps for Hulkenberg and Magnussen. They clearly don't have a particularly quick car and race trim, and I think Alpine have 7th place in the Constructors. Haas have got 8th, and I have to say, I mean, Haas are going to be kicking themselves for how... What, did Alpine manage to overtake Haas? I think they did, but I can't remember the Constructors table. Let me read the comments. McLaren team principal. Yeah, I mean, Valtteri's been close to getting points on these 3 occasions this season, but the Sauber car's not very good, and the team operating the car is absolutely woeful. The team crew, the pit strategy, the reliability is not good at Sauber. But Ruxford has said, McLaren team principal, I don't know any driver when leading the race is happy to swap back. That's not the nature of the drivers. That's why we have to recall our principals. of Sunday morning. In these battles moving forward, Lando will need the support of Oscar and the team. Oh, so hello there, Salvatore Matthew. First ever F1 race I've seen was obviously the 2002 Brazilian Grand Prix when Michael Schumacher finished in front of David Coulthard and brother Ralph, and Penny forgot to wave the checkered flag. Uncooked steak, yeah, very uncooked, very cold, very stale right now at the Swiss team. Hope you're doing well, Salvatore, on this was a fairly dull afternoon in Britain, since it's very humid and muggy at night time, but there's not actually much sun around, funnily enough. Ricciardo is winning the vote against Perez. Oh, today's the first ever Formula 1 race you've ever seen? Well, welcome to Formula 1, I guess. And if you want to see my face, welcome to Crystal Racing, Salvatore. Great to have you around here. Yeah. Well, I mean, if this is the first time you've watched F1, well, you've missed. Okay, you've missed out on the entirety of Kimi Raikkonen's and Sebastian Vettel's career. Max is a very feisty character, that's all I'm going to say. Lewis Hamilton has a habit of being able to play around the grey areas. Fernando Alonso, believe it or not, won 2 championships back in 2005 and 2006, but poor career choices, choosing to join the teams like Ferrari and McLaren at the wrong time has costed him further success. And he's also a fan of playing around the grey areas of the sport. Ferrari have not won a Drivers' Championship since 2007 when they had Kimi Raikkonen, and they've not won the Constructors' Championship since 2008. It is kind of quite something really weird to think about that Ferrari were once so successful with Michael Schumacher, since you surely have heard of Michael Schumacher, but I mean, since Kimi Raikkonen in 2007, Ferrari have really struggled. They've really struggled quite badly. Oh yeah, and the less said about Lewis Hamilton's fan base, the better. I don't think the Ferrari car has fallen off, by the way. I just think Ferrari cannot get their tyres into operating temperature, and I don't think they can preserve their tyres over a race distance. I think that's the problem, really, at Maranello. Of course, yeah, Schumacher retired at the end of 2012. I mentioned Michael Schumacher because, of course, that's the last time but Ferrari really were like the dominant team in Formula 1. Of course, George Russell has 2 race wins to his name. Oscar Piastri took his first ever victory today. Norris took his first ever win at Miami earlier on in the season. Daniel Ricciardo, believe it or not, is an 8-time race winner, but if you watched him for the past 4 years, you wouldn't even think he was an 8-time race winner because he's been so poor in the past few years. Hulkenberg holds the record with about, I think, 190 race starts without a podium. Despite his huge, prodigious talent, for some reason, he somehow has always missed out on a podium, partly due to driving for midfield teams, but also due to the fact that I think when he was at Force India, he had a habit of being beaten by Perez when there was a chance of getting a podium. So I think in terms of that ruthlessness and that ability to get a race together in order to snatch a podium, Hulkenberg has always somehow missed out. And of course, he's most notably at the 2019 German Grand Prix, which was a wet race. Yeah, Kimi Raikkonen, my personal favourite driver before he retired in 2021, insanely quick between 2002 and 2007. But then, of course, if you believe the rumours, Ferrari wanted Santander's money. They gave Kimi a suspension design he didn't like, so he started to drop off. And of course, by getting Santander to sponsor them, they also signed Fernando Alonso to replace Kimi Raikkonen in 2010. Kimi Raikkonen returned to Formula One after a 2-year break in World Rally cars in 2012 to drive for Lotus, where he won a couple of races. And then he returned to Ferrari again, where he only managed to win 1 race in 5 years. And then he went to Sauber, which was obviously then called Alfa Romeo, for about 3 years before retiring. Yeah, my pleasure, Salvatore. You're welcome to know about this stuff, of course. Fernando Alonso missed out on at least 2 potential championship wins when he drove for Ferrari. He was also involved. He was also driving for McLaren back in 2007 when, of course, Lewis Hamilton made his debut. And, of course, they arguably cost each other the championship that year, with Ferrari and Kimi Raikkonen coming from 26 points behind halfway through the season in order to win the championship by 1 point. Of course, that ended up being Kimi's only World Championship win, finally winning the championship after near misses in 2003 when he lost out to Michael Schumacher by just 2 points, and he lost out to Fernando Alonso in 2005 thanks to a series of engine failures, especially in 2005, where he won 7 races, but because of the engine failures, he lost out by 20 points. Hamilton is a very much, how do I say this? He's a very polarizing character. He's very Marmite. You either love him or you kind of hate him. I know he's got some fans who really hate him, but I'm probably one of those I would say I'm on the fence when it comes to Lewis Hamilton. Like, you won't see me criticize Lewis Hamilton as much as others, but you also will not see me personally attack Lewis Hamilton or overly praise him unless he does something really good. I don't have any strong feelings towards Lewis Hamilton. And of course, Lewis Hamilton is, of course, the only driver in Formula 1 history to have a century of race victories to his name. He is the first to do so. I think he has now 104 victories, beating Michael Schumacher's total of 91. But, of course, the 2021 championship finale at Abu Dhabi was controversial since, of course, Hamilton, who is a 7-time world champion, had an opportunity to win what could have been championship number 8, which would have put him in front of Michael Schumacher, but he was fighting back to Verstappen for the championship. And a late race crash with a backmarker named Nicholas Latifi meant the safety car came out for the last for about 4 or 5 laps. The race director at the time made a huge blunder, hesitating from not wanting to put lap cars, not allowing lap cars to unlap themselves. Originally, he wanted to make, force the lap cars to stay behind Lewis Hamilton, but then, for some reason, he allowed 4 of the 7 lap cars to unlap themselves so that the gap between Hamilton and Verstappen would reduce to absolutely no cars in between them, meaning that on the last lap, Max Verstappen, who had actually managed to pit for new tyres during the safety car, was able to overtake Lewis Hamilton on the final lap to win the championship in what was some very really bizarre circumstances, and Michael Massey got sacked for it. Formula 1 website. Verstappen hasn't been to see the stewards yet. Any time penalty will drop him behind Sainz into 6th. Oh dear. Max could actually get a time penalty too. Okay, so it's more likely he's going to get a time penalty. Yeah, obviously Hamilton and Verstappen under investigation for hitting each other in the race. Oh yeah, 200 podiums for Lewis Hamilton. Of course, that's pending on the investigation. Of course, who knows? If Hamilton gets a penalty, then that's Leclerc on the podium. Oh yeah, Lewis Hamilton is going to Ferrari. How can I forget? His longtime nemesis, Ferrari, will be, well, what a narrative, eh? Like, Hamilton and has been fighting against Ferrari for many championships throughout his career that has lasted almost 2 decades, since 2007. Most notable championship battles between Hamilton and Ferrari have to be 2007, 2008, when of course he fought Felipe Massa in 2008, and won his first championship when the rain hit the track late on, and Lewis Hamilton was able to overtake Timo Glock's Toyota to finish, I think, 5th place to win the championship by just 1 point ahead of Felipe Massa, who would never go on to win another race or ever win a championship, and unfortunately suffered an accident at Hungary, at this same track, by the way, in a qualifying accident where he suffered a horrible head injury, and he was never really the same driver again. Of course, also notable fights, I think 2010 and 2010, when of course Hamilton was fighting Vettel, Mark Webber, and Fernando Alonso, who was now driving for Ferrari at this point. Vettel and Webber were driving for Red Bull. They all had a chance to win the championship, but Vettel stole the championship win in the final race, having a year where, despite being the fastest driver on the grid, he had a lot of crashes and made a lot of mistakes throughout the year, but it all came together in the last few races of the season for Sebastian Vettel, who then went on to win 4 championships on the bounce. Of course, Vettel then tried his luck at Ferrari, where he would then go on to fight Lewis Hamilton again for the championship in 2017 and 2018, but Ferrari's operational areas, along with a few mistakes from Vettel himself, costed him the chance to ever win another championship again, leaving his career total stuck at 4 championship wins. Yeah, you already know what Carlos Sainz's nickname is, Smooth Operator. Bitter rivals. Hamilton and Verstappen have had bitter rivalries. Of course, Hamilton's also had rivalry with Alonso and Nico Rosberg, as well as Sebastian Vettel, of course. I think the media have kind of overblown the rivalry aspect between Carlos Sainz and, I think, Lando Norris. Interestingly enough, I know Daniel Ricciardo left Red Bull after 2018 because, of course, he had a few problems with Max Verstappen, but I think the only ever true rival Max Verstappen has ever had in Formula 1 has to be Lewis Hamilton, to be honest. Yeah, well, I've been watching Formula 1 for 22 years, my friend. I mean, it's almost basically like a way of life for me, unfortunately, because this is what happens when you don't make friends at school, and you're just an obsessed weirdo who, of course, became a bit too obsessed with Kimi Räikkönen, the great driver from Finland. It kind of engulfed my childhood. Well, I'm not going to get into any comments over my age, but anyway, I also know a fair bit of Formula 1 from the 1990s when Michael Schumacher was fighting Damon Hill, Mika Häkkinen, Jacques Villeneuve. Gotta say, Michael Schumacher, I think if you've read the tabloid papers, I think you will know a lot about Michael Schumacher's antics throughout his career. A great driver in his day, 7 championships, 91 wins, 68 pole positions, won 5 of those championships for Ferrari, but also a very controversial and an incredibly aggressive driver on his day. Kind of like Max Verstappen, but with arguably even more of a even meaner streak to him. Yeah, the incident investigation will conclude in 25 minutes' time. Don't worry, Salvatore. We're all here to help you. Although, if you want to know who the greatest driver in F1 history is, it's got to be Nikita Mazepin, a Russian guy who drove for Haas 3 years ago, and of course Nicholas Latifi, or shall I say, Nicholas Goat Tifi. Oh yeah, oh yes. And if you want to know who the true legends of the sport are, they are John Dennis Denetras, a Swiss driver who drove for Pacific and Simtech in the mid-90s. Absolute genius. Giovanni Lavorgi was another legend of the sport. UGAD drove for Super Hungary in 2006. Giovanni Lavorgi drove for Pacific and Minardi in the mid-90s. Truly, these are the real legends. Marcus Winkelhock, Jodian Palmer. These are the real contenders for the GOAT conversation. Don't, like, if you want to go and click on my video about who's the true GOAT of Formula 1 that I did on Wednesday night, don't watch it, because I was joking. I was lying when I said that the likes of Schumacher, Senna, Hamilton, and Fangio and Prost were the contenders for GOAT, for F1 GOAT. Oh no, I was lying. I was completely lying for 60 minutes straight. Taki Inoue, how could I forget? That's a real proper driving legend there. That man knew how to cause chaos everywhere he went. Oh God. I am thinking of trying to improve the quality of my videos, by the way, because I think a lot of my videos are just me talking to a camera. I am thinking of like adding some pictures to my videos now that obviously I don't have to be dealing with football, because I did spend the last month doing commentary for the Euros, which I enjoyed at first, but I have to say, with the quality of football being quite poor the past month, I have to say it really did get on my nerves when we got to like the quarterfinals, and especially having to watch England stink the place out. My God. As an England fan, I think, yeah, all I can say is Spain deserved to win. It was just painful to watch England for the entire month. Wait, the Opal hair, what was his name? Is that, what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. Is that Ricky von Opal? Yeah. Who drove for Liechtenstein. It ended up becoming a monk in a Thai temple. By the way, Gabriel Torquini was actually a very good driver in touring cars. Like, he won multiple touring car championships. I know he only scored 1 point in Formula 1 due to the fact he drove for backmarket teams like AGS and Coloni and some other rubbish teams in the 80s and 90s, but gotta give Torquini some actual serious credit. That guy, I think, could have actually had a decent career had he been given bare cars in Formula 1, but due to the stacked grid F1 had back in the 80s, it was very hard for a driver like Torquini to make it through. And frankly, he did spend most of his career without any sponsors giving him money, so he was being selected on the basis of his talent, which I think arguably costed him, because I always see, because I think the rise of the likes of Schumacher, Hakkinen, Zanardi, and Coulthard and Barrichello, I think arguably costed Torquini a chance at the big time at the front of the grid. Who's the best team ever? Well, statistically, Ferrari are the best team due to the fact they started in 1950. They have, like, I don't know, how many? 15 Drivers' Championship, probably like 16 Constructors' Championship. But if we're talking pound for pound in terms of like wins and championships per season competed, I think Mercedes-Benz have got to be a real shout. If we're talking about quality over quantity, I think 8 Constructors' Championship wins between 2014 and 21. Longest Constructors' Championship winning streak, by the way, beating Ferrari's 6 wins between 1999 and 2004. They also won 7 Drivers' Championship, another record for the sport. And of course, they won 2 Drivers' Championships with Juan Manuel Fangio back in 1954 and 1955 before withdrawing from Formula One due to the 24 hours of Le Mans crash disaster, which saw a driver, Pierre Lavarge, and 95 spectators get killed at a sport. Absolutely nearly killed motorsport dead in 1955. And of course, Mercedes withdrew as a full-time team in Formula One for about 55 years, but they did come back in 1994 as an engine supplier for the Sauber team, but then switched to McLaren a year later, where they were McLaren's engine suppliers for about 20 years straight until, of course, 2014, when, of course, McLaren decided to make a poor decision to switch to Honda engines at the time. But, of course, I think with McLaren, Mercedes did win quite a few Drivers' and Constructors' Championships, winning 3 Drivers' Championships with Hakkinen and Hamilton, and winning a Constructors' title in 1998 with the McLaren team. Arguably, Mercedes should have won another 2 Drivers' Championships with Kimi Räikkönen, but Adrian Newey couldn't decide a reliable car to save his life. The ban on beryllium materials on the Mercedes engines for 2001 arguably caused them all sorts of reliability issues, since that was a key material that Mercedes used for their V10 engines between 1995 to about 2000. Having said that, he was having reliability problems before then anyway, so yeah. When I thought of F1, I thought McLaren F1, absolutely. Like, McLaren have been in Formula 1 since 1966, I think. In terms of net total of victories, championships, pole positions, they are the second most successful team in Formula 1 history after Ferrari, but I am very much putting the case forward for Mercedes being the best, like, pound-for-pound teams in terms of having won 9 Drivers' Championships in about 17 years of competing in the sport. So they've had about a success rate of about just over 50% when it comes to the Drivers' Championship. Obviously, if we're going to include one-season wonders, then we have to go back to 2009 when Ross Brawn, the guy who used to be Michael Schumacher's technical director at Ferrari, then went over to the Honda team, but due to Honda pulling out of Formula 1 at the end of 2008, Ross Brawn then bought the team out famously for just £1. He bought a bunch of Mercedes engines, fitted into the back, and bought a bunch of cars that Honda designed, and then won the championships, both drivers and constructors, with Jenson Button, who of course retired in 2017. And by all statistical measures, Brawn are the best pound-for-pound team if you include one-season wonders, since, of course, Brawn would then sell the team to Mercedes for 2010. So, I mean, you could say that Brawn were basically saying the groundworks for Mercedes' success in Formula 1. Yeah, Williams, of course, I think, what are they? The 4th most successful team after Red Bull, who, of course, take 3rd place because I think, I don't know, this is a really hard one. I think Williams have about 7 Drivers' Championships and 9 Constructors' Championships, but I'm trying to work it out in my head. I think Red Bull have got 7 Drivers' Championships with Max, but they've only got 6 Constructors' titles. But up to about 1997, Williams were undoubtedly, for at least 18 years between 1979 and 1997, a top 3 team in Formula 1 on average. Yeah, Red Bull have spent an absolute fortune on their team. Of course, before Red Bull bought their what used to be Jaguar Racing, which was a poorly run team operated by the Ford Motor Company. I mean, Red Bull have completely transformed that team's fortunes by signing the one and only Adrian Newey, who, of course, is acknowledged to be one of the greatest designers in F1 history. He's a bold guy who designed the championship-winning cars for Nigel Mansell, Alan Prost in the early 90s, He also designed cars that won the championships with at Williams for Jacques Villeneuve and Damon Hill. Then he went on to design Mika Häkkinen's double championship winning McLarens before moving on to Red Bull for 2007-ish, where he then helped Sebastian Vettel and now Max Verstappen win multiple championships. I think many people have said things like Ross Brawn and Adrian Newey, along with Colin Chapman, who used to run the Lotus team right until about 1982, to be three of the most important men, both on a technical and management front in Formula One history. Yeah, obviously, that's no surprise, isn't it? I mean, Ford made an absolute stinker running Jaguar, both as a racing and as a corporate car brand. And then, of course, I mean, Ford then went and sold Jaguar after 2004, which I think it's pretty safe to say was probably the best thing that could have happened to Jaguar, because Jaguar have done a lot better without Ford, both in terms of commercial car sales and, of course, motorsport activities. Yeah, Red Bull have been a top team since 2009, but the problem is the first 4 years they were in the sport, the 2005 to 2008, they didn't win a race, and I think they only picked up 3 podiums in their time. Drawing was it 3 podiums of David Coulthard and Mark Webber. 2 very decent drivers, but ultimately both of them both well known for being number 2s. I mean, Coulthard was a number 2 driver to Damon Hill, Mika Häkkinen, Kimi Räikkönen, and you could even go as far as to say he was a number 2 to Mark Webber, who, of course, David Coulthard was then replaced by Sebastian Vettel, who became Red Bull's lead driver and made Mark Webber his number 2. Of course, I mean, Adrian Newey, I think, for those of you who don't know this man's name, he is by far the most wanted designer in Formula One. I think he's now, like, 68 years old, but my goodness me, his design and engineering excellence is practically unmatched. He is someone who has been working in Formula One all the way back in the 80s, all the way back when there used to be ground effects in 1982, hence why I think Red Bull have been so successful again recently, because of course its knowledge of the Venturi tunnels that is used to generate downforce through the ground of the floors of the car has been so vital for the success for Red Bull since, of course, in 2022, for the first time in 40 years, in 4 decades, Formula One reintroduced ground effects. Oh, teams who are massive underdogs. You could say the team in bright green with Bottas and Zhou, the Sauber team, otherwise known as Saub Stake F1 Sauber, have been like one of the best underdogs Formula One has had, but this season they have scored 0 points. And Sauber have launched the careers of many successful drivers like Nick Heidfeld, my man Kimi Räikkönen, Heinz Frentzen. They provided a sports car program. They were the guys who ran the Mercedes sports car program back in the early 90s for the likes of Heinz Frentzen and, of course, Michael Schumacher. Of course, I follow Heinz Frentzen, a guy who won 3 races in the 90s, on Twitter, now known as X. Aston Martin used to be the bright yellow Jordan team. I mean, I don't know. I have to say, under the Lance Stroll's dad management, they've had their bright moments, but I do wonder how serious are they really as a team by keeping Lance Stroll at the team. And of course, I don't know. I mean, Fernando Alonso is now 43 years old. Yeah, Sauber finished second in the 2007 Constructors' Championship, but that was only because McLaren got disqualified due to not only, okay, it wasn't actually anything to do with Hamilton or Alonso, but it was more due to the fact that one of the employees, Mike Coughlin, was caught in possession of confidential Ferrari documents in 2007 with car details when he went to a photocopying shop. And that actually saw McLaren disqualified from the Constructors' Championship and given a £100 million fine. I mean, but Sauber, though, they've been in the sport since 1993. They have spent most of their time using customer Ferrari engines, but they did have a brief period between 2006 and 2009 where they were using factory manufacturer BMW engines, and they were even rebranded as the BMW Sauber team. And he won a race with a Polish guy named Robert Kubica, who, very sadly, 4 years after his 2008 Canadian Grand Prix win, would then suffer a horrible running crash where his right arm was partially severed and he was forced to sit out from Formula One for 8 years, where he did return with the Williams team, who, I have to say, Williams, ironically enough, are now what I would call an underdog team because of the fact that since 2005, Williams have been stuck in the midfield. Like, Williams have really struggled. And I think since Pablo Montoya's 2004 Brazilian Grand Prix win, Williams have only had one race win since, with a very legendary driver named Pastor Maldonado, who won the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix in what was a very strange season where, of course, Perez designed some very odd tyres. Underdogs, I don't know. This is really hard. I think I would say Haas are an underdog because they are very much a small, privately funded American team by a guy named Jim Haas, who owns the team. Only came to Formula One 8 years ago in 2016. They've had some great results, but they just like their lead driver, Nico Hulkenberg, who, funnily enough, will be joining Sauber next year, who, of course, Sauber, the team in bright green, will be renamed as Audi for 2026, as Haas, just like Nico Hulkenberg, have never been on a podium, surprisingly enough. The team you see in dark blue, Tsunoda and Ricciardo, they're called RB, but despite looking like a small team at the back of the grid, they have been owned by Red Bull since 2006, and they've been under many different names: AlphaTauri, Toro Rosso, and before 2006, there used to be a little Italian team called Minardi, and I could remember Minardi and Jordan being two of my favourite underdog teams when I was really young. But these days, I mean, the problem with RB, they are more of what I would call like a B team / junior team for Red Bull. So in reality, they're not really competing at all in any real shape or form. They're just there as like a side operation for the main Red Bull squad. Toyota. Oh my God. Toyota could be supplying engines for Haas in 2026. That's going to be crazy. Of course, Toyota used to run a team between 2002 and 2009. Failed to win a race despite spending an estimated $4 billion, $5 billion throughout those 8 years. What a waste of money. Absolutely worst team. If you take into account the amount of money spent per year, per annum in Formula One, Toyota have got to be one of the worst pound-for-pound teams in F1 history. Yes, they scored plenty of podiums, but with drivers like Ralf Schumacher, Jarno Trulli, and Timo Glock, who was the guy that Lewis Hamilton famously overtook on the last lap of the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix to win his debut championship. Yeah, but it has to be said, when you consider the amount of money Toyota spent, $5 billion, to not win a race is honestly a failure in itself. And I have to say, I would put a team like Toyota to be down as a much bigger failure than a team like maybe, say, Minardi or the old Arrows team who used to be in Formula One between like 1978 and 2002, who both never won a race. But at least both of those teams had an excuse that they didn't have a lot of money. So their lack of success was actually kind of reasonable. And I think Arrows actually scored a few podiums in this time in their 25 years in Formula One, despite having very little money like Minardi. And of course, yeah, Renault, who are now called Alpine, funnily enough, who of course have two French drivers driving for them called Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, who were massive childhood rivals. Used to be very successful with Fernando Alonso when he drove with them, when they used to call themselves Renault. And funnily enough, Benetton, the Italian clothing company, used to own what is really colloquially known as Team Enstone. And with Michael Schumacher, they won the 1994 and 1995 championships. And of course, there was also Fernando Alonso's old former manager / agent Flavio Briatore running the team, who of course, when the Renault decided to buy Benetton out, Alonso and Briatore won another 2 championships together. Of course, 2005, as a Kimi fan, I have to say he was given a huge helping hand by Kimi Raikkonen's and McLaren Mercedes' massive reliability issues. 2006, when he thought Michael Schumacher was a bit more of a close run thing, I will say, but I think what probably swung the championship in Alonso's favour was Michael Schumacher's late bad luck in the last 2 races of the season with an engine failure at Japan and a tyre puncture early on at Brazil. But having said that, I think Alonso drove a lot better in 2006 than he did in 2005. I will give him some credit for winning that championship, because 2006 was definitely far more intense than 2005, which was a championship that was, I have to say, Kimi's poor start with the engine and car reliability issues at McLaren and Mercedes costed Kimi any real, proper, realistic chance of fighting the championship properly. Of course, to make things more complicated, Renault used to own a separate team between 1977 and 1985, which was wholly based in France. It was French-built engines, French-built car, and of course, French-made tyres from Michelin. It was, and they, of course, employed exclusively French drivers like 4-time champion Alain Prost, who never actually won a championship with Renault. And of course, they also had others like René Arnoux and Jean-Pierre Jabry, and I think Eddie Cheever, Patrick Tambay, Derek Warwick, but of course, Renault were the first team to run turbo engines in Formula 1 history. Oh yeah, what I mean is that the French-built car or French-built chassis, Renault used to do it back in the 70s and 80s, but of course, when they came back to Formula 1 as a full-time factory team in 2002, they just used Benetton's British factory in Enstone, but they did continue building their engines in some French city called Vries, or whatever it is, I can't pronounce it. And to this day, Renault still do build their own engines in France, but with the return of Flavio Briatore, who of course is the former team boss of Renault / Alpine, and used to be Fernando Alonso's personal manager, there have been talks that Alpine could be replacing their Renault engines with Mercedes power units for 2026 because the Renault power units have just been so poor recently. And as a Pierre Gasly fan, I would be quite happy to see it because I've had it, because Renault just don't have, in my eyes, a worse power unit than Mercedes, Ferrari, and... Sorry, what's going on? What's going on? No, I can see the comment. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, and I know what's it, when you look at Red Bull's car entries, it'll say the Red Bull, the RBPT, which stands for Red Bull Powertrains, but it's actually Honda who made those engines because, of course, Honda came back to Formula 1 in 2015. They left McLaren after 2017 due to falling out with them because Fernando Alonso got into a huge hissy fit during 2015 Japanese Grand Prix where he labelled their engines and I quote, GP2 engine. So they decided to go to the Red Bull Junior team, which was then called Toro Rosso at the time in 2018. And then in 2019, the Red Bull factory senior team then took the Honda engines on full time, and they've had a lot of success together. So, yeah, I mean, McLaren have really kind of embarrassed themselves at times, I have to say, in the past decade. Although, of course, I think this season they are finally beginning to finally return to full-time competitiveness, having only won about, was it, one race between 2013 and 2023 when they had Dan Ricciardo race for them at the 2021 Italian Grand Prix. If anyone wants to ask me any more questions, you can, of course. I know over a decade ago there used to be a bunch of special, like little privateer teams called Caterham HRT, which was Hispania Racing Team from Spain, which was a very poorly funded team from Spain, which was, I think, originally started by a former F1 driver named Major Campos, but then he suddenly left the team very suddenly and sadly passed away a few years ago. And then, of course, there was another team called Manama Russia, which was originally started as Virgin Racing under Richard Branson, but then very quickly ended up in the hands of a bunch of Russian people. And in the 2014 season, they became one of the first. They scored a point at Monaco with a driver named Jules Bianchi, who was born in France, but sadly later that year he was caught up in an accident at the Japanese Grand Prix Suzuka in the blinding pouring rain, where sadly almost a year later he would pass away from the injury sustained in that massive accident when he collided with a recovery truck. And of course, it is partly due to that accident, along with Felipe Massa's crash at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and another young driver named Henry Surtees, who was killed at Brands Hatch in 2009, that Formula One decided to introduce the Halo device. And of course, Henry Surtees was a son of a former champion named John Surtees, who won the 1964 F1 Championship. I think I have blabbed on long enough. Oh my god, I'm a bit tired of talking. Of course, thank you for coming on the channel, AlphaTauri, because you've actually given me something to talk about. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.